Them cars out there are extremely loud. Tom's lady friend is here, and she's wanting to know where he's at. I did message him and let him know that she was here, and that I didn't think that she'd noticed his stuff next to my car yet. I don't know where he's at. Hoping though. I went over to ask for a rolling paper, and that ended up in me being listening for a while. So then she was yelling at me from across the road, but it was loud, so I could barely hear it. It's because she wants attention for attention's sake, which sucks. And I know that there's got to be some anxiety or fear that she has of being by herself. But I don't know, just like with Tom, I'm not real fond of not being allowed to speak. And I try not to be rude when she's just talking way too much. But at the same time, she has no problems being rude about me speaking at all, or anyone else for that matter. I just want to avoid complications. I want to help this guy avoid complications. I don't know where he's at or what he's doing currently. Hopefully he's trying to find a place to go, or figure out where his friend with the loud car is, or something. Anyway, I'll make sure I check in on her and make sure she's safe, and I'll listen to her as much as I can handle. And it took her, I want to say, 20 to 30 minutes at least. I'm not exaggerating, to eventually get around to giving me a rolling paper. So I'm rolling my cigarette right now. I had to take the opportunity because she will literally talk for days from what I've noticed. So there is that. Oftentimes that's a sign of loneliness. I did know a couple of older women who were homeless that were widowed. Both of them had a decent amount of money, I guess. When they went homeless, they just gave up when they got lonely and went out to the streets and got depressed and figured they'd starve to death, or they just straight up went slumming. They still had a house, they just like Kelly. She only had one arm. She also died, so at least that's what I was told. There's been a few people that I was told are dead that miraculously came back to life more than once. People like Christine Buhit. There's a lot of people that came back to life after being dead. Is that really true? No, it's not. They weren't dead. Just false information or bad information. Or sometimes somebody pisses the wrong person off and they figure if they tell everybody from that area that they're dead, or have somebody else do that, then they show back up in the area when they find out whoever was pissed off at him is dead or moved or in prison. Hey man, I thought you were dead. No man, I've been in Florida. Alright. I never been to Florida. The bus that I took from California to Dallas, and then from Dallas to Bristol, Tennessee, took me through Louisiana, but not Florida. I made a big wide berthing circle around the United States, and a few straight shots through the center of the United States, a few north-south journeys, all in the years since Natalie died. A lot of people, they get on after, well, they get onto one of these Natalie Bollinger Web Sleuth shows. They're just now learning about the case, and they're wanting to make the same suggestions everybody else made. Suggestions that don't work. So I'm telling them the same thing that I told people back then. I tell them exactly the help that I need. My life is not important. My evidence is. Preservation of evidence is of the utmost importance unless it is in a situation where it is preservation of human life. There is nothing that I have ever owned that is worth a human life. Ever. When Desiree stole all my stuff, and that includes evidence, I was more worried for her safety than I was for that evidence. Although I was pissed off about that evidence, I'm still pissed off about that evidence. That's not what a friend does. But also I've got the information and the screenshots to prove the connections between my predators and the Bollingers and the way that they played that. One set of people would harass me and threaten me and intimidate me and tell me they were going to kill my friends and family, and then the other set that's working with them, well, some of them would be playing victim. Like with that, what was his name? Adam Klein. Well, he was working with Jennifer Farina Bollinger. That's the sister of child molesters Ted Bollinger and Troy Bollinger of Colorado. Boulder in specific. Why did Natalie Bollinger have Joseph Michael Lopez blow her fucking brains out? She just wanted her family to love her right. She'd also been taking abuse for years and nobody listened. Nobody listened. Nobody listened. Well, guess what? I fucking listened. And when she sent me messages about it, I fucking saved those. I was told that I was creepy for saving those messages. Anything that I do, I'm called creepy for. Now, it's not like I intended to save those messages. The messages between Natalie and I on the internet, well, they're on the internet. The ones that she sent me in emails, well, they're still in my emails. And now there's, I think, like 105 or 107 people that have been forwarded that message from Natalie Bollinger. There was a lady who said that she would look at evidence and help share it. So I started sending her some last night. What I'm able to by phone anyway. I'm using up my battery and I don't want to, but at the same time, she comes over here and starts talking 400 miles a minute. I don't want to have to fidget with the phone for 5 minutes to get it running. She'll likely take offense to that. She takes offense to quite a lot of stuff. And she's a pleasant enough lady, except being offended by everything. She wants to manipulate everything into you saying something you didn't. So there's no sense trying to talk anyway. And that bugs me. I understand completely why Tom is trying to avoid her altogether in this transition to but it's a pain in my ass. I think what I'm gonna do instead, I'm gonna just lock my vehicle and put up the windscreen and try taking a nap until his friend's able to show up to help grab his stuff. And I'll message him to ask when he thinks that stuff will be delivered. Or not delivered, picked up. Because he said I went to go get cigarettes earlier. He said his friend was coming. I'd probably hear him. I told him I'd only be going to pick up cigarette butts for about 10 minutes because I know of a dry spot where there's an ashtray. He said, well, if you hear a loud car, that's him. So if I don't see you, it's good to meet you. So yeah, I was expecting that loud car that I heard when I was over there looking for cigarette butts. I was expecting the loud car that I heard over there to be his friend, but no, it wasn't. So at this point, I'm actually kind of stuck here watching his stuff, taking responsibility for his stuff too. I'm hoping that doesn't get me into trouble because I took the time to make sure that my car was a lot more cleaned up and a lot more organized. I could only do it a little bit at a time, and I can't do it in this parking lot. Obviously, that'll bring too much attention, and then the manager ends up calling the boys in blue, and they come tell you, we can't live here, and I'm not trying to live here. I'm trying to fucking get help. The situations where I was abused by people who were employed by the United States government for various agencies, they didn't want to do their jobs. When it came to mandated reporting, they are trained that even if it's one of their coworkers or one of their friends, they still have to make the report. They still have to do that. How many people did that? How many people did I tell that didn't do shit? All of them. Even the ones who claimed they made a police report and the ones who claimed that they tried. Between producing evidence of it and playing, they decided to play victim. Oh, if they play victim, they're doing the same exact thing as every single one of the rest of you here in the United States. Preying on the mentally ill tag. If you're not preying on it, you're looking to, well, the other way to people that you know are taking advantage of at-risk adults. Most of you know people who are doing that and never say a word. Jeremy Elliott is an at-risk adult in Chapel, Nebraska, whose own mother was taking advantage of him. That is predatory. When I say my predators, not all of my predators are sexual predators. Some of them are physical predators. Some of them are financial predators. Some of them are both. Some of them are all three. I didn't make any of these people cowards. Right now, what I'm trying to do is help a man who is trying to avoid complications to get out of here without those complications. It's called preemptive maneuvering. If you got a bunch of, I'll give you an example. If you got a bunch of Russians lining up on your fucking border, then you take your troops and you put them on the other side of the border. You set them on your border, on your side of the line. That's preemptive maneuvering. It's not defensive. It can be, and in nature it is. But you know what? Just because somebody sets up an invasion army doesn't mean that you have to wait for them to march into your country and actually invade. We've got plenty of examples where people, well, made a preemptive strike against somebody who they thought was going to attack them, or had everything but declared that they were going to attack them. So they went, you know what? We'll attack these motherfuckers first. They did so, and it was effective. For me, I don't feel comfortable misleading the situation or misleading her. However, I do understand that with her, I don't want to say issues because she might take offense to that, but they are issues. They're very offensive issues. When only one person is allowed to speak, it'll drive you fucking nuts. There's also the fact that the person who needs to be heard, are they or no? Tom offered to help speak for me, to help me have a voice. He's also a Vietnam veteran who served 2 tours. He's also out here on the streets, just like me. When I tell you I'm fighting for their rights, I mean it. When I say we got homeless people out here that came from every walk of life, I mean it. We got soldiers here from Desert Storm, soldiers here from Desert Shield, soldiers here from Vietnam, soldiers here from Grenada. We got a lot of soldiers here. Well, they're not soldiers anymore. They say once a Marine, always a Marine, right? Well, that's not exactly true. You were expected to transition back into civilian life after watching your friends' brains get popped all over your face. Or after watching one of your friends get run over by a tank, or get exploded by a mortar round. getting pieces of their guts and feces all over you, because, all that stuff that's inside of your body when it gets hit with a mortar round, all of that stuff splatters like a water balloon, but it's not filled with water. Splatters everybody around you. It's not a horrible way to go, but it's a horrible thing for everybody who sees it, for everybody who's got to go get entrails and brains out of their uniform that belong to somebody that they know first and last name and half of their life history. Then you're expected to come back here and pretend everything's fine, and it's not. I understand why Tom wants to be left alone. I understand why he is. Well, he's not as chatty as she is, but he is extremely chatty. The difference between him talking to me and her talking to me is that he does let me interrupt him and speak once in a while. He doesn't complain when I do interrupt. And well, I can tell that he 100% understands a lot of the stuff that I got to deal with. He's also aware that I understand the situation well enough from my own personal experience with that lady. I understand why it is that he is glad to have somebody to talk to. And even more than that, he's glad it's somebody who actually cares what he has to say. And I absolutely do. He was telling me about a spot where I can go put my spider hole. And, he's a Vietnam veteran. He's going to know what a spider hole is. He's going to have seen a few of them in his day, maybe even been in one or two of them. Hopefully he wasn't a tunnel rat. That's a scary fucking job. But when I tell him I want to put one in the middle of a blackberry bush, he understands exactly what I'm saying. It's only got to be big enough for me. Just big enough for my body to fit in it with a blanket underneath me. Or if I don't have a blanket, a bunch of leaves or some foliage of some sort. But as time goes on, I can dig it deeper. I can shore it up. The dirt that I'm digging out, I'm inside of a raspberry bush at that point. Or, sorry, a blackberry bush. There's a whole bunch of natural barbed wire surrounding a hole that is tiny. And if I got dirt that I'm digging out, I can just throw it out of that little hole. It's going to land underneath those blackberries, and it's not going to make any difference. It's not going to look like a big pile of dirt. Those blackberries are too thick for people to see what's underneath them. And Tom, he told me how to get there. And you know what? This is something that I do that he knew to do as well. He didn't just tell me, he drew it, drew a little map, and told me the locations while he was drawing the map. And as a result, from him drawing a map in the dirt with his finger, I can follow those directions, where if he'd have just told me, I'd have gotten lost one or two lefts into the wind, Well, you got to go to here, and then you take a left here and a right there. No, what he told me is landmarks and town names of the destination I'm heading to and where to turn off. He also told me, and he was showing me, this is where the Y is, this is where it goes off to this place, and this is where it goes to that place. This is the type of road that it is. So that way you can properly identify where you are. He tells me about local geographic landmarks. Well, that right there is all stuff I can understand. Absolutely. I'm not familiar with this area, but I do understand geographic landmarks. I also understand when he says hill versus mountain, I understand the difference. when he points at it with his finger and he says, all right, if you get to this point right here, to this landmark right here, you've gone one turnoff past where you should have been. And he doesn't tell me oh, well, there's a little tiny pink Easter egg off to the left-hand side of the road behind a post or something like that. No, he would tell me, all right, well, there's a white picket fence or there's a iron fence, the details of what you're going to see on the trip. And that way you can forget everything that he said to you. But as soon as you have that visual marker, that'll bring out your recall, the recall portion of your memory. And then you'll remember what he said. There's a lot of people that there was stuff that I wasn't able to remember or was afraid of forgetting, so I let other people know. Or I created a time and date stamped piece of information that I could go back to by trying to inform them. Because like I said, I tried to inform somebody. When stuff like this happened, I always tried to inform someone I knew. Always. And preferably somebody who is a, what do you call that, mandated reporter. So that's one of the things about the losses of those phones. They actually had a time and date stamp of exactly when those situations happened and exactly what people said, instead of making it their word versus mine when I have the handicap of being called mentally ill. So no matter what, I automatically lose. Meanwhile, that evidence should have been looked at. They should have been doing everything in their power to look at that evidence, not look away from it. And doing everything in their power to put that evidence into a courtroom, not prevent it from being taken to the courtroom or shown. They should have been doing everything in their power to help me to turn in these child molesters, rapists, and murderers, instead of doing everything in their power to threaten, harass, and intimidate me, and prevent me from doing so, and press some false charges against me to eat up my money. Meanwhile, I'm disabled. I have to live on a disability income. If I accept more money than what I get during the month, there's only a certain amount that I'm allowed to be given. And I got to declare this, and I got to declare that. And when the courts are eating up over $600 of my disability money every single month, $600 out of, well, when Natalie died, there was about $600 out of less than $700. Right after Natalie died, for me to have to spend all of my disability money to run back and forth to all these fucking dates for crimes that weren't fucking committed. I was assaulted by Waylon Lolatai, not the other way around. Darren O'Connor was going to help me with that, or so he claimed. I hooked him up with several of the other victims of Waylon Lolatai, and when he was asked by Tony Kovaleski of, what was it, Channel 9, or maybe it was Denver 7, Darren O'Connor didn't say a goddamn thing about me. He didn't keep his word. He didn't keep his end of the... I'm used to that, Emmett Darren. Darren O'Connor is a coward, just like most of the rest of you. Right now, I know that posting this up publicly on YouTube will probably get me hated by that young woman, or older woman, I should say. But the thing is that Tom's safety is important to me, and his sanity is important to me, and he doesn't want to get bitched at. He just wants to get his stuff and go. He's overwhelmed with it and tired of it. When she gave me a paper finally to go roll myself a cigarette, I came over here to roll it. This is where my tobacco is, but I was trying to be nice, and she still kept on talking. And I wasn't trying to be mean or rude or inconsiderate. I was just trying to get some fucking peace and quiet, roll a cigarette, and smoke it. And I offered her 25 cents. Is what I got. Yeah, 25 cents for one roll of paper. She didn't take my money. You know, she's nice enough. She's just got zero tolerance for anybody else speaking. So while there was a bunch of loud traffic, I started walking over here to roll me a cigarette, and she yelled for me twice. Not a "I'm in danger" yell, and "I need attention, where are you" yell. Well, I'm stressed the hell out. I'm over here smoking a cigarette is what I'm doing. It's getting pretty late. It's 11:21, and he was going to his friend was going to be here to help him a few hours ago, and he hasn't showed up yet. So I'm going to message Tom. This video is almost 33 minutes long. I've done this for women before too, just so you know. This isn't something that I'm just doing because he's a guy. Of course, when I help a woman out, I'm told, well, why do you only help women? What is it with these women? Well, mostly it's sick fucks like you. If Zach Richmond hit Jenny Richmond and she came to me and said, hey, Zach hit me, I'd help her turn him in. With Dallas and him getting assaulted in front of me by Harley, that's something that I could try to turn in, but he's a male. He might get arrested. I told him that I recorded those situations, and if he wanted to turn them in, that I'd help him. I also asked him, I said, so, because he told me on multiple occasions, he said, you know, I was going to call the cops. I thought about calling the cops. I seriously thought about calling the cops. I'm not going to hit her. Real men don't hit women, and this, that, and the other. And, you know, when he told her to get the fuck out of the house, she didn't get it. It's his house, not her house. His house. And he fully intends on giving it to the kids. Like, for them to grow up in. He understands that she's probably going to move in, which, you know, he didn't want to live with her. But he said, you know what, the reason I don't turn it in is because I don't want to get arrested. I'm the dude. Well, how true that is. When I say it, though, I get treated like I'm being sexist. No, I'm pointing out sexism. But all these predators, they just need an excuse to hate someone. Well, they want to twist everything into something that it ain't. No matter what I do, it's something horrible towards humankind. No, humankind is fucking disgusting. Even though that lady drives me completely fucking nuts and drives him completely fucking nuts, I'm still helping him out of the situation, and I still intend on at least trying to make sure that she is safe. I don't want to be close enough to have to be the center of her need for attention, but also I don't want her getting beaten the shit out of or raped or fucking killed. And those are all very real possibilities out here. Very real possibilities. I also don't know if she's the kind of person that would flip out and do something fucked up if she felt rejected. Like Lanny Ingleine or Jamie Curtis. Holy shit. Of course, there's another woman who did some fucked up shit because she felt rejected named Crystal Beauchamp. Man, that's still a scary situation for me. But I understand she's nuts. I also understand that's from PTSD because situation where, you know what, she just wanted to be a good mother. That's what she wanted to do. But abuse from the fucking Boulder police. Well, now she fucking hates the cops. They took her kid away. She would have been a good mom. You guys should talk to Mary Jane Ryder about that. Or even Crystal Beauchamp. There's a rumor going around that she slammed her cell door on a female officer's wrist and cut her hand off. And another one that she did that and it was just a finger, but I don't know. I haven't seen any actual evidence, any of this crazy stuff that people want to claim that she's done. But I've been the target of her craziness because she felt rejected. Jamie Curtis admitted that she did the fucked up shit that she did to me because she felt rejected. I wasn't rejecting her. I needed her to be very clear instead of being wishy-washy and doing this yo-yo bullshit. I was letting her know if I wasn't good enough for her when she was sober, she couldn't have me when she was drunk. I think that's a good fucking rule. If you're my best friend and you don't want my penis when you're sober, what makes you think I want that awkwardness? I've seen way too many of my male friends in trouble and lose their best friend because she got drunk and extremely horny and absolutely was going to stuff something in there if she couldn't force her best friend to have sex with her. Hey, we've been friends for a long time. I'm horny. It's just sex. It'll be fine. And then the next day, oh my God, what happened? What happened last night? You took advantage of me when I was drunk. I can't believe you did that. Fuck, he was drunk too. Now he's a sexual predator because he was fucking drunk and you wouldn't stop hitting on him? If a man does that, you guys, all the time, I get to see these things from women who are like, you know what, I only had sex with some guy because fucking he pressured me to, or because, you know, I was drunk and he was my friend and this and that and the other. Like, you know what? Women do the same thing to men, but you want to pretend it's just a man thing. It's just a man thing, just a man thing. No, fucking women are 11 times more likely to be stalkers than men. Female serial killers in the United States have a larger body count than serial killers who are male worldwide. Holy shit. That's just one profession that is primarily dominated by women. We put women in all of the care positions because we want to pretend that women are more nurturing, more caring. No, a fucking meth addict is a meth addict regardless of the genitalia. If you've got a male parent and a female parent, and one of them is on fucking meth, the parent who's on meth is probably not going to be a good parent. However, that doesn't mean that they're not. I've met some people that are functional drug addicts who are actually good parents. They're just drug addicts. And I've met parents that don't touch drugs, don't touch alcohol, don't touch none of that. Do the whole Bible Belt straight up Christian, go to church every Sunday, volunteering every Thursday, and going to the extra church meeting that they have every Wednesday. The praise the Lord this and praise the Lord that. But they still molested their fucking daughter. Eat that, Mark Richmond. A lot of y'all don't get involved. Why not? You think I want that man going through that anxiety? I know exactly what he's going through. For me, I would like to help him to have that luxury and have a transition out that doesn't result in a horrible confrontation. And, you know, that's one of the things about women out here who are like that lady there. There's a possibility that she'll turn on the waterworks like Leslie Snell. Then all of a sudden, we must give her what she wants because she's pretending to be afeared. Because she's thrown on the waterworks, we have to give her what she wants. That's how Americans are conditioned. Every girl knows that. Every girl knows that by fucking kindergarten. As men, that it's all our fault. That we did it. That men did it. And we get to see now that there are actually more female teachers getting arrested than male teachers. Male teachers are getting busted for what? Pornography on the school computer, or making lewd comments. One of those guys, I was like, man, I'm going to use this guy as an example of what sick fucks we have to deal with in the school system, because there's a lot of them. And I started reading, and I'm like, oh my God. Holy shit. Like, the words that literally came out of his mouth were grossly reinterpreted. And it's recorded what he said. Like, the actual situation is recorded, and it was taken completely out of context. And the way that the media spun it, like he's some sort of sick fucking pervert who's trying to fucking molest kids in his classroom. Like, no, he made a comment. He didn't touch anybody. And his comment wasn't lewd. He even used the scientific terminology. News media also didn't point out the fact that it was in response to a question. And that according to the curriculum, which if you're the teacher of a health class, you're supposed to teach a particular curriculum. When one of your students asks you about that curriculum, and you answer what that curriculum says, and this is the most fucked up thing about the situation. What he stated is in the book for that class, almost verbatim, nearly exactly word for word. Now let me give you an example of that, all right? I'm going to tell you John 3:16 as I learned it. And it's going to be different from most of you, especially if you've been reading Bibles and just started in the last 20 years. It's probably not the King James Version. And I've seen John 3:16 written differently in two versions even. So let's see if, for those of you who are Christians, let's see if your John 3:16 is the same as mine. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, so that whosoever believeth in him shall not perish, but have everlasting life. Your versions are probably worded a little bit different, but it's supposed to be the same thing, ain't it? Just easier to find because it's in modern lingo. Our sentence structures are a little different. Our wording is a little bit different. Even our spellings mean something just a little bit different than they did when the King James Version came out. Even the pronunciation of the English language was changed after King James. But this is all history. This is shit you guys don't care about. Now, when we see female teachers getting arrested, what are they doing? They're getting fucking pregnant by 14-year-olds. 36-year-old teacher, almost 40 years old, just 4 years short of being over the hill, getting knocked up by a 13-year-old. We got a 23-year-old teacher knocked up by a 13-year-old. We had at least 24 female teachers last year arrested for having sex. Actually having sex with their students. And they didn't get the attention that the males did. They sure didn't. The media didn't spin it the way they spun the male teachers. When you've got a male teacher over on the East Coast being arrested for answering a question with what is in the school district's book for that curriculum, for that specific class, and he is arrested for doing his job. He's literally at that point using everything that he's supposed to be utilizing as a teacher. He is literally using the tools that he is expected to use. And preferably not to deviate from, and he did not deviate from the curriculum. He did not deviate in his tone towards an aggressive tone or a sexual sounding tone. So why did he get arrested? That's a good fucking question. We've gotten to see that female teachers are actually having sex with these students. And they are treated far more lenient by both the media and the public. Earlier today, Molly wanted to start an argument. She started she started in on how horrible men are. Men this and men that. And women have to this and women have to that. No, the fuck they don't. No, they don't. Later on, she said we can agree to disagree. You're absolutely right. If you admit that you're wrong, then we'll both admit that you're wrong. We'll both agree that you're wrong. Men can be victims. And then, of course, she wanted to try, at that point, doing an odd 180 turnaround by telling me about her brother being molested. Well, that doesn't fit your argument at all. That is the opposite of your argument. This does not support your argument, lady. I don't understand. You think telling me about your brother being molested is supportive of how males cannot be victims. I don't get it. I don't see how that was even pertinent to the situation that we had at the time either. And Tom, I could tell he was fed up by that point. I've spoken with Tom 3 separate times without her there, and he's a very talkative person. When she is there, he's not a very talkative person, but he can be a very talkative person because she won't be quiet. It's not a personal insult towards her or to her. It's not a thing where he hates her and he's trying to ditch her here and throw her to the wolves, like my supposed friends did when Natalie disappeared. I didn't make them cowards, and I do not take responsibility for their cowardice. As Phoenix says, I do not consent to your negativity. But I'm going to tell you something. There's also a big difference between negativity and seeking help. And when you accuse somebody of being negative for seeking help, you are harming them. And you are intentionally going out of your way to mislead the situation, to justify you looking the other way, and it doesn't justify it. I mean, the word there would be justice, wouldn't it? Ain't no justice in that. Anyway, I got my 5% notice on my phone, so you know what that means. I gotta end this video and charge it up a bit. Good to be rid of you. Thanks for coming to visit. Stay out of trouble or don't get caught. Remember, you are your brother's keeper and no victim left behind.